record. So it is part 2, haloalkanes and haloarenes. So today we will discuss the first and foremost thing is that the action of phosphorus halides. What are phosphorus halides? Phosphorus halides. Phosphorus halides are the compounds where the phosphorus is connected to halogen. Okay, like PCl3. Okay, PCl5. Basically, these two are the phosphorus halides we'll talk about. Now, how this reaction will undergo? How does this interact? Is what we have to see. Now, it is. Let me consider the example CH3 CH2OH on the action of PCl5. So when I take PCl5, I get CH3CH2Cl plus POCl3 plus HCl. So basically what happens here? I will tell you. So here you have CH3 CH2OH and you write like this. One, okay, PCl5 is like this. It's a TBP kind of structure, trigonal bipyramid. So hydrogen will take one HCl. Okay, this HCl will go off. This phosphorus will take an oxygen, leaving one chlorine to this. It's a very complicated mechanism, but you can understand like this. One chlorine to carbon, phosphorus will take this oxygen, and this hydrogen will take another chlorine. So that way you can remember like this: POCl3, HCl, and CH2Cl. What is CH2CH2Cl? What is the CH2CH2Cl? That is C2H5Cl, which is nothing but ethyl chloride. Ethyl chloride, which is nothing but ethyl chloride. Hope you can make a note of this. Hopefully you would have noted. The C2H5Cl is also called chloroethane. Chloroethane. Okay, ma. And what is POCl3? POCl3 actually looks like this. This is the structure of POCl3, and it is called phosphoryl chloride. Phosphoryl chloride. I hope I am correct with my spellings. Phosphoryl chloride. And what about the treatment with PCl3? So that is another interesting thing. 3 moles of C2H5OH, it will react with the PCl3 to give us 3 moles of C2H5Cl plus H3PO3. So here what we got is phosphoric acid. Okay, phosphorus acid. Phosphorus acid is what we got. This is again our chloroethane.
Okay, sir.
Come on. Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
Now, how do we prepare bromo and iodo alkanes? So to do that, we do like what I explained earlier in the last class, but called in situ preparation. In situ preparation method is used for bromo and iodoalkanes. So for that, PBr3 and PI3 are prepared in situ by using red phosphorus plus bromine, or for iodine case you will do red phosphorus plus iodine combination, and then they will subject it to the heat. Okay, they can subject it to the heat, and then what you get is that. So you get so the reaction is C2H5OH. I'll take it very simple. C2H5OH. So you have red phosphorus or iodine, or you can use red phosphorus with bromine. So any of this reagent will prepare what you will get, either PBr3 or PI3. At that very instant you can prepare this in the reaction vessel, and then you can get C2H5Br or C2H5I. Okay, so by this process you can get these two. You can make a note.
Sir, 1 minute, sir. Noting.
Yeah, you note it, note it.
Noted, sir.
Okay, good. Now we'll go ahead. Now to get, so someone asked you, how do you prepare, how do you prepare pure alkyl halides, pure alkyl halides using, how do you prepare pure alkyl halides? I'll tell you. This is done by using SOCl2 pyridine. Okay, SOCl2 pyridine. What is pyridine? You may not be knowing about it. So pyridine is like benzene ring with nitrogen. Instead of one carbon, nitrogen is substituted instead of one carbon. Such a thing is called pyridine. It is slightly basic in nature. Okay, so this is called thionyl chloride. Okay, thionyl chloride. What is thionyl chloride? SOCl2. Pyridine is this one plus pyridine combination. Okay, plus pyridine. What is pyridine? This is called pyridine. So this combination, why this combination is preferred? This method is most preferred method. This is most preferred method as the byproducts SO2 and HCl are gases, they can escape easily. That is one thing. HCl, another thing is HCl is trapped in pyridine. Is trapped by using pyridine. The HCl is trapped by using pyridine. So it forms a pyridine hydrogen chloride complex. So it forms a kind of complex like this, Cl minus. So like this, it will trap it like a salt. That is one thing. The other thing is that the SO2 what forms, it will escape as a gas. Hence we get pure products, pure alkyl halide. Hence this is the reason we get pure alkyl halides. So I'll write here somewhere. Okay. So after noting, I'll write. Okay. Anyway, I'll write here. This is the reason. Is the reason we get pure alkyl halides. Is the reason we get pure alkyl halides. This is the reason. So because the byproducts they escape as gases for you, otherwise that HCl what is formed, some HCl will escape and some HCl will be trapped inside the pyridine. So once that happens, no, you get a very pure alkyl halide. Okay, the salt can be washed off by using different methods. Simply by washing with water, you can wash the salt off, and then you can get a pure alkyl halide by using this method. So someone asks you, how do you prepare the pure alkyl halides? By which method do you follow? This is the best method to follow. But the problem is that the pyridine is not that recommended to use in the lab. So they have taken some alternative steps for pyridine, because pyridine is highly carcinogenic in nature, so we don't take the pyridine into in the lab. So earlier they used pyridine. Now there are so many advanced reactions where you can prepare the alkyl halides very easily in the lab. So that's the conclusion here. Now let's move on. So you're noting, Amma, or can I clear?
Not yet, sir.
Noted. Good. Now the next one. Now these reactions, the above reactions what we discussed, no, can't be used. The above reactions can't be used to prepare aryl halides. As when you consider phenol, so the equivalent reagent is phenol. Instead of alcohol, if I take phenol, the carbon oxygen bond is having double bond character in phenol. Double bond character in phenol. Hence, it is more stronger than CO bond in alcohols. So it has double bond character because of resonance. That is one thing. Okay. So this is the reason. Okay. More stronger than the CO bond in the alcohols. So that's the reason. We will say that CO bond is having double bond character. We can say partial double bond character to be exact. Partial double bond character. Why partial double bond character? That we'll discuss later. That is because of resonance structures in phenol.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now the next topic is how do you prepare the alkyl halides from hydrocarbons? From hydrocarbons. So this is by free radical reactions. Free radical reactions is actually these reactions doesn't have much of control. For example, I'll tell you this is not that important. I tell you it's not that important at all. They will not ask you this reaction, so don't worry much about it. So here these are formed by Cl2 UV light. No control. This reaction does not have any control or heat. So you have multiple products here. So you get the substitutions can happen at any place. Okay. So this is like so that's why I am telling that you don't have any control. So okay, chlorine I have taken, so I'll put chlorine, and then the substitution can happen at any point. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here, like this, you can have any kind of substitution anywhere in the compound. So this, when this happens, no control. The reaction does not have any control. No control over the reaction. That's the major problem with this reaction. No control over this reaction. Very difficult to control the reaction because it's really fast. Always remember this is formed by free radical reaction. Free radical reaction. Free radical reactions are very difficult to control. Free radical reactions are very difficult to control. Please remember that. That's very important. And now the order of reactivity. The order of reactivity. The order of reactivity is like tertiary carbon will react faster than secondary carbon, will react faster than primary carbon. So this is the order of reactivity. So it is like, remember, first is tertiary carbon substitution at the tertiary carbon, tertiary hydrogen substitution. That's what you have to remember. Hydrogen substitution. Next is secondary hydrogen substitution. Hydrogen substitution. And that's greater than primary hydrogen substitution. Okay, this is the order of reactivity you have to remember. So here the hydrogen is substituted by chlorine. That's what happens. So I'll tell you this one without example. It's very difficult for you to handle this. So once noted, I will let you know. So, okay. Now suppose I have a consideration like this. So suppose you have this kind of scenario. Okay. Now, when you look at this carbon, this is a tertiary carbon. This carbon is tertiary. Okay. Tertiary carbon. A carbon connected to 3 carbons, that is tertiary carbon. This is my tertiary hydrogen. So the tertiary hydrogen is substituted by the chlorine. That's the more preference. This is more preference. This is more preferred. This is more preferred to undergo substitution. This is what you have to remember. So this is what the thing you have to remember. So how can you expect the question to come here? That also I'll tell you in this part. But it is a remote chance that you will get a question over here. It is very, very remote. The chance is pretty remote so that you get a question from here. That's what you have to keep in mind. Not very important.
Okay, sir.
Now let's clear this. So how do we expect a question of this kind? Here, suppose let me consider like this. I will take a chain like this. Okay, this is like this, and again this is like this. I consider CH2 CH2. So if I consider a chain like this, now Cl2UB, if I put, I'll ask you, out of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons are there, where do you expect the first substitution will happen? So the first substitution happens at the tertiary carbon. Okay, that's how the question can come. Or more product will be the tertiary next product. So I'll write that mono substituted okay, halides. Okay, so if I make mono substituted halides, which is the more yield means which will the more amount of product. So you write the tertiary, the product which is containing the tertiary carbon, that is the product where you get more. So that's how you can remember. So this is the one, that is the tertiary, that is greater than the secondary thing, where the secondary carbon you can see here, this carbon is the secondary carbon. So here I can give the substitution. So this product yield wise, the predicted yield, this is called predicted yield. So you can give the predicted yield by using this particular formula. So it follows tertiary greater than secondary greater than primary. Primary carbon substitution is really difficult here in this case. So I will stop at this point, and the primary we can think later how to do it.
Okay.
Okay, now. So how do we prepare the alkyl halides from alkenes? Okay, from alkenes. So how do we prepare from alkenes? So you consider the reactivity. So remember the reactivity, Hi greater than HBr is greater than HCl is greater than HF. This is the order of reactivity of the halogen acids, okay? Or you can say the hydrogen halides. Sometimes they also call hydrogen halides. Hydrogen halides. So this is the order of reactivity what you see for the hydrogen halides. And now you consider, we consider the ethylene or ethene we take. Ethene is a very simple example to consider. So ethene we will put HBr. So what happens is that H will add to one carbon, bromine will add to another carbon. You can add anywhere you like for ethylene. Remember this. You may go wrong if any number of carbon is in excess. Okay. So how to do that? That we'll see later. So this is how. Simply break. What you have to do is break one pi bond and add one hydrogen to this carbon. Add the bromine to this carbon. Simply you put like this. I will tell you another technique. HBr is like H plus and Br minus, no? So you add H plus one side and Br minus other side. That's it. As simple as that. Simply you can do that.
Okay, sir.
Now, so there's a here we have to study a bit for a symmetric alkene. Symmetric alkene, only one product is formed. So what is a symmetric alkene? So we have taken the ethene. The ethene is a symmetric alkene. I'll simply tell you how to write the symmetric alkene. You take ethene. Ethene is a symmetric alkene. Why? You break this double bond, then this piece is looking alike as this piece, right? I hope I am clear. Then
Yes,
you
sir.
can say it is a symmetric alkene. Now, what I have to do for the higher numbers means more number of carbons are coming up. So in such case, how do I get the symmetric alkene? Instead of hydrogen, I put CH3 here, one CH3 here. I'll leave hydrogen, and again another CH3 I will put here, and I will leave hydrogen. What is this? This is nothing but it's actually cis-2-butene. Cis-2-butene, because both the CH3 on the same side. And again, if you have like this is my trans 2 butene, because both the CH3 on the opposite side, we write this as trans 2 butene. Hope you got both the CH3 on the opposite side, that's called trans 2 butene. Both the CH3 on the same side, that is called cis 2 butene. Okay, cis means on the same side, trans means on the opposite side.
Yes, sir.
Clear? Now,
Yes.
when you consider these two and then add this HBr or HCl. So let's take any one of the things. No problem. Both the things we can do, I'll tell you. So here I consider first is the cis-2-butene. Both are symmetric. You see this. When I cut here, this piece is looking alike as this piece. So when I drop this HBr, what do I get? H will add to this carbon and Br will add to this carbon. What is ultimately I'm going to get is CH3, CH2, CH, Br, CH3. Assume that here I added hydrogen. Okay, I'll show that. Here I added. If I exchange these two also, suppose I add hydrogen here, or I add bromine here. Even if I exchange these two, you see this. If I exchange these two, I don't have any problem with the compound what is formed. So it's the same compound. Why? You see this? It's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is 2-bromo butane. So that's the compound what you get. Just a minute.
Okay, sir.
I got a phone call.
Okay, sir.
Hello? Hello? హలో హలో నేను క్లాస్లో ఉన్నా, మళ్ళీ చేస్తాను. హాఫ్ అన్ అవర్లో చేస్తాను. బాయ్. హలో. Yes, ma'am. So you got this. So 2-bromobutane. Here also you see, you will number from this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. You will number from this side. This is again 2-bromobutane. So you don't have any problem with when you are having a symmetric alkene. Now, let us consider the asymmetric alkene. What problem do we face? Now, how to create asymmetric alkene? It is very simple. You take ethene first. You take ethene first and put one CH3 group and don't add anything on any side. And this asymmetric. You see why? You cut it here at the double bond. Now this piece is different from this piece. Got it? No. And that's why it's called asymmetric. Asymmetric alkene. Got it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's see what happens with the asymmetric alkene. Suppose I put HBr into that. What do I get? And now I will get two kinds of products. You see this? So I have CH3. Suppose hydrogen is added here. So I get CH2Br. This is one side. If bromine is added onto this side, CH3CH, Br, CH3. Okay. This is how I get two products. This is what? 1-bromo propane. And this is 2-bromopropane. So the question is that which product will form? That's the question. The thing is that both will form when you take an asymmetric alkene. But the thing is that you get one as the major product, that is 2-bromopropane as major, and 1-bromopropane as minor product. I hope you understand what is major and minor. This will be like 80 to 90%. Okay, this product will be like 80 to 90%. This will be, or even more than that, depending upon the situation. This will be like between 10 to 20%. So even less than that, it can happen even less than that. So this is what happens in the case when you have an asymmetric alkene. For a symmetric alkene, you don't have any issue wherever the hydrogen and bromine adds. So what governs this particular type of what is the fundamental thing which governs where the substitution will happen? How does the substitution will happen? Is governed by something called Markovnikov's rule. So I'll discuss that. What is Markovnikov's rule? So can I clear this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. We have the next one is MARKOVNIKOVS. Markovnikov's rule. Okay, our Indians will study like this. I think that the other countries, they study in a different way, spelled in a different way. I'm not sure how do they spell. So what is this rule? What is this rule says that if in an asymmetric alkene, the negative part of the reagent will add to the carbon having less number of hydrogens. That's the idea. Less number of hydrogens. The negative part of the reagent in a symmetric alkene, the negative part of the reagent will add to the carbon having less number of hydrogens, And you have to remember one thing: the carbon participating in double bond. Okay, carbon participating in double bond. So look for that. Look for the carbons participating in the double bond. Okay, that's what you have to see. So more explicitly, I'm telling, of course, the carbon which is present in the double bond will definitely have less number of hydrogens. That is, that's very much understood. But to remove further confusions for the student, I am telling this one also, that look for the carbon which is participating in the double bond first, and then out of those two carbons, choose the carbon which is having less number of hydrogens. That's how you can go ahead with this. Now let us solve the propene issue using this particular funda of Marconi-Kawsul. Okay, we'll go through this. What did it say is that
Yes.
CH3, suppose this is my propene. This is the propene structure. And now you have this propene, and then you add Hi to this, hydrogen iodide. So the negative part of the reagent, how do we find negative part? Hi, you write it as H plus and I minus. The negative part of the reagent is I minus. I minus will add to the carbon. Out of these two carbons, you have to check. This carbon, that is second carbon, is having less number of hydrogens. This is only having one hydrogen. This is having two hydrogens. So add the I minus to the carbon having less number of hydrogens. That is here at this position. So you have CH3, CH, and you have I here, and again, oh sorry, this is a single bond. This, out of this, you break one pi bond and create like two bonds, and then you have to add. So here you have H, H, H. The hydrogen will add to the carbon having more number of hydrogens. The negative part of the reagent will add to the carbon having less number of hydrogens. So the idea is negative part of the reagent add to the carbon having less number of hydrogens. So based on this, there was a question in IIT also, that also I will tell you what is that question. That confused many students, but the answer is so simple actually. So can I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the question was like this. They have given the benzene ring actually. So it was like this one. This is the situation what they have given us. And HBr. Simply that's it. That's all they have given. So actually, 90% students they failed this because the benzene ring is given where it getting added. Definitely, please understand that HBr cannot attack the benzene ring. It's only this carbon it can attack. That's it, as simple as that. So you just write. Don't even worry about the benzene ring. Just put the bromine here. Negative part of the reagent adds to the carbon bearing less number of hydrogens, and this one here. That's all the answer is. So simple. 4 marks straight. And 9. It confused many students, and then I don't know what happened. Many students gave the wrong answer because benzene ring is there. They are confused. So don't worry. Just don't worry. Benzene ring is not going to participate in the reactions of this kind. So simply you can add by using Marconi-Kawsul. So that is the fundamental idea. Okay. The next one is called the peroxide effect or Kharash effect. Peroxide effect. or it's also called KHA or ASCH, Karash effect. And the next one is, it's also called anti-Markovnikov's rule. Anti-Markovnikov's rule. So these are the different names it has. So it does a different story. So what it does is, when you take the same propene, so this is a little bit confusing, but you have to remember this reagent. This reagent is called benzoyl peroxide. Okay, so it looks like this for you. This is called benzoyl peroxide. So when you have O bond, it is called peroxide. This benzoyl peroxide. So when you have benzoyl peroxide and then you use HI, now it is like the, now we'll write, it's not like, it's not correct to tell that it is negative part of the reagent anymore. This follows by free radical mechanism. It follows free radical mechanism. So when it follows free radical mechanism, I can't tell that it's a negative part or the positive part. But what I can tell is, here in this cases, halogen connects to carbon having more number of hydrogens. That's all I can tell you. More number of hydrogens. Why I cannot tell negative part of the reagent is because when you have peroxide, it will undergo by something called free radical mechanism. When it undergoes free radicals, in the case of free radical, you can never have a negative and positive part. So I cannot say the name of saying that the negative part of the reagent will add to the carbon. Where is the negative part? You don't have a negative and positive parts when you have a peroxide over there. What I can tell is the halogen will connect to the carbon having more number of hydrogens, and hence the product looks like the reverse of what we have done earlier. That means the iodine is added to the carbon having more number of hydrogens. So that's the reason it's called anti-Markovnikov's rule. As per the Markovnikov's rule, negative part of the reagent will add to the carbon bearing less number of hydrogens. Here, as it is, if you see, the halogen, in the earlier case, the halogen has connected to the carbon having less number of hydrogens. In this case, the halogen has connected to the carbon having more number of hydrogens. That is what is Karash effect. That is what is called peroxide effect. So in the presence of peroxides, it will behave in the reverse way. That's what we have to keep in mind. So the peroxides,
Okay.
you always have the reverse way. Now that's called anti-Markovnikov's rule. Now addition of halogens.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Now the next topic is addition of halogens. This is the last one today. Addition of halogens. So we will, how do we add the halogens? So this is a way of, this is also called test of unsaturation. This is also called test of unsaturation. What is unsaturation? So it will test whether there is a double bond or not. Test to find double bond. This is also used for testing to find a double bond. Double bond. Okay. If the given compound contains a double bond, this is the test you can use. What is this test? Br2CCl4 mixture we use. Br2CCl4 mixture. This is our reagent. This is the reagent what we use in our laboratory. Okay, Br2CCl4 mixture. And this mixture is reddish brown color. Okay, now this mixture is reddish brown color. So reddish brown color because of bromine. Okay, reddish brown color because of bromine. Because of bromine, it will have reddish brown color. Now the color will be discharged when we treat alkenes with Br2CCl4, this mixture. When we treat alkenes with Br2CCl4 mixture, the brownish reddish brown color, reddish brown color is discharged. What is discharged means? It becomes colorless. The solution becomes colorless. So that is a visible test of unsaturation.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So what are the compounds we get from this? We get dibromides from this. We get dibromides. Bromides. When alkenes react with Br2CCl4. When alkenes react with Br2CCl4, what you get is dibromides. So how the reaction takes place is very simple. Reaction wise is very simple. So unsaturation means where there is double bond. Unsaturation means unsaturation means presence of multiple bonds. Presence of multiple bonds. Multiple bonds. Okay. Especially we look between the carbons. Okay. Presence of multiple bonds. So Br2CCl4. When you take this mixture, the bromine will add to both the carbons. So bromine will add to both the carbons. It's like this. So especially this is like one bromine will be down, one bromine will be up. This is called anti-addition, actually speaking. So in general, this is not mentioned in your text, but anyway, I'm writing this out of my interest. So it's CH2Br bond CH2Br.
Okay.
So what is dibromine? This is the dibromine. So it is 1,2-dibromoethane. So that's the product what you get. Okay, this way we'll stop and then we will go ahead with the halogen exchange reaction and then haloarenes. Okay, the next class I will let you know when it will be. So today it's sufficient today and then we'll see tomorrow. Okay, ma. Right.
Okay, sir. Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
Okay, ma. Bye.